Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Shri Bhavani Shankaraya Namaha. Om Shri Matriya Namaha. Happy to see you all. My name is Arun Hebre. I am from Langhorne, Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia. On behalf of Chitrapur Heritage Foundation, CHF, I welcome our guest, Divya Rao, the moderator, our own Maushumi Mavinkurve Suttles, and all our viewers for joining us for this Young Professional Series. And good morning, and good afternoon, good evening, and depending where you are. We are in separate time zones. I see some people from India also joining us, which is great. Welcome. First, before we start today, as per our Chitrapur Mutt tradition, we will say the Sabha Prarambha Prarthana. I request Shashank Shashank Udyavar to lead the prayer. Shashank?
Jai Shankar.
Jai Shankar.
Om Dakshinaasya Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Pariyanta Smarya Guru Parampara Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Tarunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaralloka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशव वामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनंद परिज्ञान गुरु सद्योजात शंकर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर् गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Thank you, Shashank Udyavar, and good to see you, Shruti, also for joining the prayers. Thanks. So I take this opportunity to thank all the donors for their generous donations, which have enabled CHF to support several initiatives of Sri Chitrapur Mutt and Swamiji, education, women's power, and also to support the Chitrapur Mutt, the parampara and the culture. Param Pujya Sadyojat Shankaracharya Swamiji encourages young adults to attend Shibir in Shirali. And that's probably the best way to find out more about our culture, heritage, and roots. Coincidentally, Divya attended the last Shibir held in December 2023. And Maushumi attended the first CHF Shibir held in December 2003. I think it's 20 years ago, if my maths is correct, and that's a great coincidence. We at CHF want to encourage our young people in the US and Canada, our neighbors, who have done extraordinary work in their fields. The purpose of the Young Professional Series is to showcase their talents and achievements. Today, Divya Rao of San Jose, California, who is currently doing her master's at Carnegie Mellon, will be giving a presentation on her work, the Lunar Iris Rover. I'm sure you will find it interesting, out of this world, in fact, So without further delay, let us listen to our space scientist, Divya Rao. So, Maushumi, please take it away. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Arun Mom, Shashank, and everyone. I'm very excited to be here to highlight and elevate the great work that Divya Rao has been doing for quite some time. I'm just going to do a quick intro. Divya is going to present something. We'll do question and answer. We've prepared some questions, and then we want to open it up to everyone on the call for questions. So I'll get started. Divya Rao is currently a master's student studying applied data science at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. She applied, she also completed her undergraduate at CMU, majoring in statistics and machine learning, and joined the Iris Rover team in her first year as a freshman at CMU. She soon became the systems management lead for the team and was the mission operations lead for the period leading up to and during the mission of launching the Iris rover on the moon. As someone who's been dedicated a member and lead for the project for the past 5 years, she regards this mission as an immense success. The technology and efforts made by the Iris rover team lays the groundwork for advancements in the future endeavors related to space exploration, robotics, engineering, and establishing a lasting legacy. I can tell you from some of the brief conversations I've had with Divya leading up to this, the work she does is truly out of this world, and it's very inspiring. And so I'm going to kick it off to Divya.
Thank you so much for that really, really nice introduction. Let me share my screen and just make sure that everyone can see it. Can y'all see this?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, and audio is good? Okay,
yes, audio's good, and I'll make sure everyone else is muted while you speak. Thanks.
Okay. Well, first of all, Jay Shankar, thank you so much. I would really like to start by thanking the CHF board for the opportunity to talk today, especially Pramod Mom, Ashok Mom, and Hebli Mom. I would also like to thank you, Maushumi, for being such an amazing moderator today, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity to get to know you through some of our conversations leading up to this. And I would especially like to thank Swamiji for his blessings. And like it was mentioned before, I had the opportunity to talk to them about this project in the December 2023 Shabir trip. So yeah, let's hop into the presentation. So today I'll be talking about the Iris Lunar Rover. This is America's first student-built rover that's been sent into space. So just a brief introduction about me. So I think as mentioned earlier, I am currently doing my master's in applied data science at Carnegie Mellon. I'm actually graduating in less than 2 weeks. So very excited about that. I also graduated last year with my bachelor's in statistics and machine learning, also at Carnegie Mellon. So I've been here for 5 years. My interest in space started way back since 3rd grade. And one of my 3rd grade teachers would encourage us at that time to go to the local community college to watch space lectures from some representatives from NASA. And that was kind of what sparked that interest and really started from there. I also remember watching a movie, I think it was called Event Horizon. And I'm not sure if people remember this, but my brother, Aditya Rao, and I had a rock band, and we performed at the Konkani Sammelan in New Jersey. And it was also called Event Horizon. So you can kind of see that interest in space has been there for a really long time. But yeah, overall, my passion really lies in the intersection of data science, robotics, and space. So really applying what I've been learning in my degrees, undergrad and master's, and seeing how, kind of the culmination of all of that is possible. And then, of course, in the future, I think it would be really, really cool to be an astronaut. And I think I might be halfway there, but yeah, hoping to do that maybe soon. So now you might be wondering, what is the Iris rover? So this is a picture of it over there. So the Iris rover is approximately 2 kilogram rover. This is a student built and led robotic rover. Over 200 of us at Carnegie Mellon have worked tirelessly over the past so many years. So originally this project started way back in 2017. I joined the project January 2020. But yeah, so many students have been working over the last couple of years to, conceive, design, prototype this rover, test it, and so many people are from different nationalities, gender, majors, even class years, undergraduate, graduate students. Something very cool about this rover is earlier I mentioned that it's around 2 kilograms. And this was actually because of a weight restriction that we had in order for us to be on the lander. So we had to be less than, I believe, 2.5 kilograms. So because of that, we decided to use a carbon chassis and wheels, as you can see in the pictures, and that's what makes it so light. And this rover was in space for a 10-day mission. So from January 8th of this year, 2024, to January 18th, 2024. So what is the Iris mission? So overall, our goal was just to create and launch the first nano, non-governmental, university-initiated and student-led and developed rover into space. Overall, what our goal is just to inspire future generations to develop an interest and really get more people involved in the space community. We wanted to show that you don't have to be a very established or a very large organization in order to send something into space, and that things like this are possible. And a quote that our team really loves from our professor, Red Whitaker from CMU, is that there's never a second chance to be first. And CMU and our team really wanted to do that for America, for Carnegie Mellon. So now I'm going to talk about my journey through Iris. So I originally joined the team my first year of college, so back in January 2020. And I joined the team as a technical managing assistant. And this is actually a picture from way back, I think sometime January, February 2020, where I was helping the previous lead. And then 6 months later, I became the systems management lead. So in June 2020, and I continued on to do that until August of 2023. During that time, I also led the Moonshot crowdfunding effort in March 2021. And then more recently, I was leading mission operations starting in August till our mission. So to kind of dive into deeper into what some of these roles mean. So on Iris, there was different teams. We had the systems team, we had the mechanical team, avionics, teleoperations. Everyone was in charge of different things. So as a part of the system team and as the lead, our role was to revise and submit technical documentations. So this could be testing documents or procedures that are created. It was also to identify and mitigate any risks that are coming up. And then also managing compliances towards our system as well as astrobotic technologies requirements, because the rover was going on a astrobotic technology lander called the Peregrine lander, actually. And overall, I was just responsible for making sure that we are on schedule, assigning tasks, making sure that I can help out wherever I can, honestly, in any of these teams. And then also presenting at major reviews with representatives. So yeah, and then for the crowdfunding campaign, so space is expensive, right? And what we wanted to do was raise money for, rover flight components, testing, and the CMU mission control room, which I'll talk about in the next slide. But so I led a CMU crowdfunding campaign. It's called Moonshot because it's our one shot to the moon. And we raised $66,362 for this campaign. And this is the highest amount of money that was ever raised in a CMU campaign. And something that was really cool was that we exceeded the initial goal of $10,000 within the first 2 days of the campaign, which was just mind-blowing for us. And there's about 250 donors, And something cool that we wanted to do is we wanted to bring the CMU community, our friends, family with us to space. So we said, you know, if you donate, no matter what the amount, we'll take you with us to the moon. And we put their names on a flash drive, and you could actually see that their names being transmitted into space. And then this is an example of like one of the flight tickets that we sent as we're taking you with us. So yeah. And then now talking about the mission control room that I mentioned. So we used some of that crowdfunding campaign money to basically plan, prototype, and essentially build this control room at Carnegie Mellon. And this is where, you know, we were training for mission operations for the mission. You know, we would have our meetings here. We'd watch other landings. And also, like, we have this room for Iris, but to also leave a legacy for the future. So there are other rover projects at Carnegie Mellon, or just other space projects in general. And basically this room can be modified for every specific mission, and it can kind of be used in a variety of different ways. And so we've kept that lasting legacy there with the mission control room. Kind of adding on to that, so in August 2023, I became the mission operations lead. And what this really involved is we wanted to train students to become operators during the mission. So this involved how would you react during a mission critical emergency? Like, what specific step would you take if maybe the motor stopped working, or like the battery was like very low? So kind of training them to use their critical thinking skills, like what would you do in certain situations? Because space is very unpredictable, and you need to be able to kind of think fast and react to mitigate the problem as quickly as possible. And then in addition to that, it was also kind of establishing and just leading mission control operations and trying to, again, carry this forward for other missions for students at CMU. Now, talking about leading up to launch. So when we got our second launch date in January, we were very excited. So this is a picture of my team. We were actually at Astrobotic Technology headquarters, and you can't see it in this picture, but we got to see Iris on the lander. So we could see it while we were there, and this is the team just very excited about that. And now to talk about launch. So launch happened in Cape Canaveral, Florida. So on January 8th at 2:18 a.m. And I know, I think I sent the link to the live stream to some of you, and I know everyone joined for that. So I hope you had as much fun as I did watching the rocket launch. But we gathered there to bid farewell to Iris, and it was aboard the Astrobotics Peregrine lander, like I said, and that was secured inside ULA's Vulcan Centaur rocket. And, you know, the experience of witnessing this was just so moving. As you can see, they actually got a picture of me, you know, tearing up, because this was just a crazy moment. And we couldn't, after 5 or 4 years, I couldn't believe that this happened. And then this is the team standing there. And now, actually, in case you missed it, I wanted to include a video of the launch. So let me see if I can full screen it. But and that bright light is the rocket going up. But yeah, so we got to see that within a safe but very close distance from that launch. And I think that was the first time I had ever seen a rocket launch. So was honestly a mind-blowing event. But yeah, so this is the next day actually after the launch. So the lander carrying our rover began its journey to the moon. However, the lander faced a propellant leak. So the Peregrine lander faced a propellant leak, and mission, while it was actually supposed to occur in February, so a month later, because it takes approximately a month to reach the moon, was happening the very next day. It just started the next day. And we were all in this Verbo down in Florida. You might recognize someone to the right. That's my brother, Divya Rao. He also worked on the Iris rover. He goes to UC Berkeley, but he helped out with the project, I think, back in 2021. So something that was very cool about Florida is that we brought all the alumni or past members to come down and join us. And it was actually really fortunate that we had everyone there and we could all put our minds together. Because the team had to adapt very swiftly to the situation that happened, and we recalculated the available time that we have for the mission. We kind of formulated a management plan to for this challenge, and we really shifted our focus to trying to gather as much scientific data as possible in the limited amount of time that we had. And I think that's where that mission operations training really kicked in, and those critical thinking skills were happening. So now I wanted to talk about some mission accomplishments. So this image here, it's the first image of Iris from space, thanks to the cameras on Astrobotic's Peregrine lander. And you can actually just see the bottom half of the Iris Lunar Rover's wheels. And these are the carbon fiber wheels. And to the right, you can see the American flag. So this is the first image, and very exciting for all of us to see this. Now, this is the second image that I wanted to share. This is a Hello Earth message that had been sent from Iris in space to the team on Earth. And this really helped us prove that there's a two-way communication between the lander and the rover. And it was a very fun message to receive in real time while we were there. And then the third thing that I wanted to mention is, ultimately after being in space for 10 days, the propellant leak was kind of the reason why our mission concluded early. So originally the goal was for Iris to reach and land on the moon, to drive on the moon, to capture an image of the Earth. But because of the propellant leak of the lander, our time in space was cut short. So we actually re-entered the Earth over the Pacific Ocean, and I think we landed there on January 18th around 4 p.m. And something I did want to say was our lander, the lander and our rover, did traverse lunar distance, and it did burn up in Earth's atmosphere during re-entry. And overall, this was something that I consider a huge success, because we were able to, do a lot of our missions. So the first one, like I mentioned earlier, establish a two-way connection from the rover to the lander. That was something that we really wanted to test out. The second one was, activating and confirming that the rover had functionality in various systems in the cislunar region. So, can it survive radiation? Can it face extreme temperatures? Can it survive the vacuum? Just overall, can this rover that students build survive the harsh conditions of space? And then the third thing is that we've gathered a lot of useful telemetry and scientific data from this mission, and hopefully this kind of information will be used for future missions. And then finally, something that was very fun for us was we were able to turn our wheels in space. So that was very nice to see. So yeah, like I said, we regard this mission, and I also personally really regard this mission as an immense success, given all the data that we gathered, all the insights that were gathered, and This will really shape the future of space, in the community, but also at CMU. And hopefully this is not only benefiting our university, but, other universities, other private companies as well. And I just wanted to talk about a couple fun news stories that were covered with the team. One of them was from NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. If you guys are familiar, and this was a really fun interview. So I'm trying to see if I can open it in another tab. And hopefully everyone will be able to hear the audio. So let's see. I don't know if anyone can hear this.
No, we can't hear you. Voice.
Yeah, I can't seem to hear the audio this time.
Just give me 1 second.
Divya, when you first share, it probably gives you an option to share with audio. Then probably...
Oh, share sound. Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully this works now. Let's see.
Space.
Like systems management lead Divya Rao.
One of my childhood dreams, in fact, was to be an astronaut. And while I'm not actually going to the moon right now, I think, being able to send my name to the moon and put something on there is close enough.
Rao's third grade teacher sparked her interest in space, which has encouraged her journey to the moon.
So what advice would you give to kids who want to reach for the moon themselves?
It just really goes to show that there's no limits to what you can do, and life is really unexpected, so just keep your eyes open for the opportunities.
Iris will be launching into space later this summer, but the team will keep on working because, as they say, there's never a second chance to be first.
When you choose something like this for your life very openly, and then give it everything, no matter how it turns out, you can't lose.
And no matter what happens up on the moon, with Iris's launch, it completes its true mission, showing the final frontiers for all, no matter how small.
And then there's just other media things that have been covered by CMU, other articles, and then I'm not this is something that happened about a week or two ago. We actually met Bill Nye the Science Guy, who's someone that we used to watch in our 7th grade science classes. So we bring people like him and other guests to the mission control room. So that's another fun thing that we got to do and talk about our project with him as well. So now you might be wondering what's next for you and Iris, Divya. So the next thing is I submitted papers to the International Astronautical Federation. There is the 75th conference happening this October, and it'll be in Milan, Italy. So 3 of my papers have been accepted, one of which I am first author in. So I'm very excited about this opportunity to, meet a lot of professionals in the space field, as well as, get to connect with them and, be in that kind of environment. Yeah, so that was it for me. Thank you again. And yeah, please reach out to me on LinkedIn, these are my emails, and I think we'll move on to the questions.
Yes. So there's it's exciting to see there's about 94 guests on this Zoom, which is fantastic. Divya and I have prepared a few questions. I've prepared a few questions as I've been chatting with Divya and getting to learn all of this amazing work. And so I just want to thank you again, Divya, for walking us through your journey and the journey of Iris Rover into space. It's really amazing to hear everything that was done and the team. And so as I ask some questions, just to warm up the crowd, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand, and I will be looking through the chat and looking for audiences as you raise your hand, and I'll make sure I get to everyone. So I guess my first question is, what are the goals for the Iris Rover team next? Is there going to be an attempt to try to get to the moon? Is it trying to go somewhere else? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so for us, because we were able to send Iris into space, we were able to achieve, a lot of our mission objectives. Iris is like one of a kind. It was the first. We're not planning to kind of do a redo. I know a lot of people actually were asking us right after the mission. But there's other rovers at Carnegie Mellon, one of which I also worked on. It's called the Moon Ranger rover. It's a fully autonomous rover that is searching for ice on the moon. So very interesting project. So that's happening. So they'll be using the mission control room. I think the younger generations that have been working on our team, they're always cooking up new ideas. So I'm sure that they'll come up with something. But right now, just really focusing on making sure that we analyze the data that we've received, write those papers that we don't forget, and really just document our story right now. Yeah.
That's great. And the next question I have is that, I thought this was an amazing, entirely student-led project end to end. And what I found so interesting is while you all were pursuing degrees in data science and robotics, that you had to, part of this was also thinking about things that weren't even related to your studies, which was like crowdsourcing and fundraising. So I found the story that you mentioned, which you mentioned very briefly in your presentation around crowdsourcing, so interesting, because I think it's such an important piece is how do you fundraise and also bring, get individuals interested. Can you speak more about how you and the team came up with this idea to send folks' names to space? That's so wonderful, and raising $66,000 is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think a lot of it stemmed, initially was that we were kind of in the final phases of like building and testing our rover, and testing and space grade parts are quite expensive, especially around that time, with COVID happening, and there was just a lot of shortages of parts. There was a really long lead times. So because of all of that, we wanted to raise money, and also actually around that time, the crowdfunding event was the first time that we were kind of bringing Iris, or bringing attention to Iris and the CMU community and just the space community just in general. So this was kind of somehow the timing aligned perfectly, but this was the opportunity where we got to really bring CMU and just everyone with us on our mission, kind of inform them about it, because I think before that it was kind of it was on the down low a little bit. And like the leads on the team, we had our plan was to etch our names on the back of the rover before we sent it up. And then we were thinking, but all of these people made it possible, made it happen. Every single dollar is helping us reach our goal, and we really want to take all of CMU, all of our friends and family who has put so much effort into this project with us, and that's kind of why we were like, hey, we'll send your name to space as well. And so that was just a fun thing that we got to do. And actually we were recording when we were sending people's names and their messages to the moon from the mission control room, and we were sending it to them. So seeing their replies and kind of the joy in their faces was very fun for that.
That's amazing. I love that story. And next time there's a fundraising attempt, I definitely want my name going to outer space. So please let me know. The next question I had is, what was it like being in the mission control room? How did you and the team create this mission control room? Did you collaborate with folks in NASA? How did you, it looks like, first thing when I saw the pictures on the video, it looks like out of the movies. So I'd love to hear more about how that was developed.
Yeah, Actually, definitely we were taking inspiration from movies, from places like SpaceX. We've seen like recordings of their like mission control room, like when launches are happening. And we were thinking like, hey, we are doing something very cool. Wouldn't it be nice to have some kind of like one place where the team can meet, where we can watch this happen, where we will be like actually controlling the rover, like sending commands to the rover. And so we wanted to have like a nice area for that. And so there's a lot of different prototypes that people had like recommended, based on maybe some of their own aesthetics, or like they had got inspiration from movies or whatever. And then we did the crowdfunding effort, and then it took, I would say, like about 2 years to like fully like build out that control room, because I wish I had a picture of it, but originally it was just a bunch of tables. There was no lighting, no monitors, nothing. It was just like kind of like there's a blackboard in a classroom. But yeah, after just a lot of thinking, planning, building, we were able to like finally put this together. And now, this room was useful for us, but it'll also be useful for projects like Moon Ranger, CMU in general, and then also just any other space initiatives. So yeah.
That's great. The launcher, was that in coordination with NASA? And like, how did you tell us about how that collaboration and partnership worked?
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say like some of the like very specific details, but basically we knew that we would always be on the Astrobotic lander, because Astrobotic Technologies is actually a startup from Pittsburgh. And so while we were building the rover, we were making sure that we following their requirements, doing reviews with them, and then handing off our final like prototype of the rover to them. And then I think at some point, we found out that this lander is going to be on ULA's Centaur Vulcan rocket. And just from seeing that launch in Florida, that launch was a huge success. So that was a really great partnership. And yeah, no, just excited that it finally got off from Earth. And then of course came back,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
amazing. What advice would you give someone who's interested in pursuing similar work as you?
Yeah, so kind of what I mentioned in that NBC nightly news video. Like when I came to CMU, like of course I've always been interested in space, but I would have never imagined working on sending something to the moon. I mean, that thought never crossed my mind. But I really think that people should keep their eyes and ears open for any kind of opportunities that come their way. And I truly believe that the decisions that you make throughout your life can like impact what you do in the future. And I'm someone that really likes to take any opportunity that comes my way, and that's kind of what happened with Iris. And another thing is to persevere through it. With Iris, like I said, I joined in 2020. It's currently 2024, and I'm graduating with my master's from joining as a freshman. So just staying committed and sticking to it, and like seeing it through to the end. I feel like it's a lot of work, a lot of hard work and dedication, but I think the results are always worth it. So I really just recommend keeping your eyes and ears open and staying committed. So
Great. Yeah, I think what you've done in 4 years is amazing, that you've actually been able to send something to space. So you're graduating in May with a master's. You've done all this amazing work with Iris Rover. You're leaving a legacy at CMU. What's next for you?
Yeah, so actually in mid-July, I will be moving to Boston, and I am starting work at Amazon Robotics. I'm very excited to work there because I had done a previous co-op and an internship there actually this past summer. So really looking forward to that. Yeah, and then hopefully at some point in the future, I would like to pursue a PhD, so continuing more education. And of course, like I said, hopefully becoming an astronaut someday. So
That's great. Yeah. Congratulations. I'm reading the chat. I see a lot of congratulations. I'm going to open it up to questions for others. There is one question in the chat from Maithili Surur, which is saying, when the question related to the lander itself, when it was traveling through space, was it exposed to the vacuum of space, or was it contained somewhere to be deployed on the moon? What was its end planned?
Yeah, so the plan was for it to land on the moon. But because of that propellant leak, it didn't have enough fuel to go all the way. So it was within, it traversed this lunar distance, but just because it couldn't go all the way, the government and NASA, said that the decision should be to bring it back on Earth so that it doesn't get classified as lunar debris or space debris, sorry, in general. So that's why I ended up re-entering the Earth's atmosphere instead of landing on the moon.
So great. Any other questions from our audience? If anyone wants to post anything on the chat.
I have a question. Firstly, Divya, congratulations on the great achievement and a great presentation today. I'm sure this process would have produced a lot of stress, especially doing it in addition to your college studies. How did you as a young adult manage the stresses of this process?
That's a really good question. I will say that there was a lot of lack of sleep involved over the last couple of years. So I think sometimes people would see me entering the mission control room with really big eye bags and things like that. But I think honestly, I was very excited about the goal of our mission and what we were trying to show and, inspire, other people to also get involved in things like this. And because of that, I think that was like kind of the driving force that kept me motivated, even, with my studies and also, with the mission. So, yeah. And of course, the support of my parents, especially my mom and dad, I think they would receive a lot of late night calls from me when I was studying or, because so I'm in Pittsburgh right now and they would be in California. So it was nice. Like we had a 3-hour time difference. So if it was 3 a.m. here, it would be 12 a.m. there. And, they would still pick up and kind of motivate me. So I think that was very nice.
Hi, Divya. This is Anita Bindur. I did have a question for you. First off, congratulations to you and to your parents for raising such an accomplished and talented person. So, I've always been intrigued by how interspace communication is done. And so is there some sort of like a deep space network that is used to send commands to Iris from Earth?
So actually, that's something that we wanted to test out. So we use Wi-Fi communication, right? So will that kind of communication work? So the fact that we were able to so it was from Earth, we were sending commands to the lander. The lander was communicating with the rover, and then similarly, the rover was communicating back to the lander, and then the lander would send communication to us. So that was kind of how it works. I'm not sure right now if I can share too much of the details, but let me check in with the team and then I can, I'll send you a message or share a little bit more about that in depth once I get the go from them. But yeah.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, Divya. Congrats on your all achievements. It's really wonderful that you are sharing that experience with us because it's going to help a lot of future students to dream the same dream you have seen. But I have a question. So how did you test because it's lunar atmosphere where this lander is has to perform. So how did you test it on the Earth?
Yeah, so we have we have something that's right next to the mission control room at Carnegie Mellon. It's called the Moon Yard, and basically it's a really big sand pit that's supposed to kind of simulate lunar regolith. And then when we were, trying to account for like gravity offloading and things like that, what we did was we attached a balloon, really big balloon, that was, connected to the rover. And that's kind of how we were trying to simulate that part of it. The other kind of testing, like, right, so, accounting for the vibration, during takeoff, or, thermal vacuum testing. So we did those specific tests either at facilities at CMU or in the Pittsburgh area. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, hi, this is Pramod, Mavinkurve. Divya, one question. Definitely, I heard this morning that you're also a dancer. So you're well-rounded and definitely accomplished. Okay, and so congratulations to you on that. The question I had was, how did all these, I guess the lander was built by some commercial company, and
yes,
definitely was by another third commercial company, right? So
yes,
you, who are these companies? That are you allowed to tell or no?
yes, yeah. Yes, so for the lander, we were working with a company in Pittsburgh. It's called Astrobotic Technologies. So we were working with them in very close communication while we were building the rover, because we needed to make sure that we met their requirements. For example, the rover being under 2.5 kilograms, like that was a requirement from them in order for us to be on the lander. So we had a lot of frequent check-ins. We had to do, design reviews, payload acceptance reviews with them, critical design reviews. And then the rocket company is called United Launch Alliance, ULA. And so they're actually a military company. And so they launched from Cape Canaveral. So those are the two companies that we worked with.
So these companies, I'm sure, had multiple payloads.
Yes.
Into yours, right? And
yes.
So how many of them became successful since the lander sort of failed you guys? Okay.
So yeah, I believe there's about 10 other payloads on the Astrobotic Peregrine lander. I think they're all facing like you said, very similar challenges, right? But I'm sure that they also kind of had their own successes in their way. I'm sure they had their own mission objectives. So, just like Astrobotic was communicating with us, in the mission control room while we were in Florida, like, hey, Wi-Fi is on, you can send a command, or hey, you can send a command to move your wheels, or things like that. I'm sure that they were communicating with them as well, but I don't know the specifics of some of the other ones. But that's a good question, and should definitely check in with some of the other teams.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to just encourage you was, when SpaceX launches a rocket and it fails, they never say that it failed. They say, I've learned something from it. Okay?
Yes.
And they actually call it a success because they've learned something from it. So I'm assuming that your team also did the same thing, which is encouraging. Okay? That entire space exploration thinking is going in a positive way.
Yes. Yes, totally agree, especially because, we were able to see that like all of our, like the rover's functionalities were all working, right? We were able to test that out even while I was just in space. And so who knows what would have happened like on the moon, right? If it had landed. But unfortunately, because the lander itself had the propellant leak, we didn't get to see that. So, I mean, even though honestly the mission didn't go exactly as we planned, right? I think there were a lot of successes that we got out of it. And like you said, and I think we learned so much, and then hopefully like other rovers and other people just in general, other companies can learn from this as well.
One very last question. Did you guys, or are you planning in the future personally or as a team to connect with the Indian aerospace effort that's going on, and that landed a lunar lander there, right?
Yes. We
So
actually watched that landing from the mission control room, so we're very happy that was a huge success.
but are you planning to coordinate or team up with those guys in the future, or that they have different mission goals that? Because I'm sure they'd be interested in some kind of new talent going in there.
No, absolutely. I can't speak for CMU and like the future of space robotics, right? Or planetary robotics at CMU. But I do think it would be such a cool opportunity to learn from them or just have an opportunity to talk to them as well. So yeah, I totally agree. Hopefully that can happen.
Yeah, that's probably a good opportunity to team up with them or even work over there for a while.
So I have a couple more questions from the chat. One of them, which I must ask because I think my mother posted it and I will be in trouble if I don't ask it, is what was the most challenging task for the functioning of the Iris rover while building it?
I think that's a good question. There was a lot of challenging things throughout that whole process. I do want to highlight, I think the most challenging task was our very original design, right? Was completely different when we were first starting to build it. Like we were not like we were, thinking like, okay, we should use like very heavy wheels, have a very strong base. And so originally the rover was a lot heavier than its ultimate weight. And so I think really coming up with that design and deciding to making that decision, our mechanical lead, he made that decision to use the carbon fiber chassis and wheels. I think that was a very like thought out process. And I think that was kind of making that decision. It was very challenging, but it was also very rewarding because we were able to hit that weight goal. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it was, what you originally or the team originally had thought changed, right, in order to get to the specifications you needed to get it into space. That's pretty amazing. The other question I had is, it sounds like that many of the team were students, so you were essentially providing your time and your expertise, which was in kind. Do you have a sense of what the total project cost? Like, what were the costs? I know you had to fundraise, but and did Carnegie Mellon support you or bear any of the costs?
So I believe the cost was about around 700,000 in total. But if you compare that to how much it takes NASA to build a rover, which is about close to 2 billion.
Wow.
I think that while it seems like a big number, 700,000 seems like a big number to us, that was a huge effort to kind of lower that cost and to have like students try to send something to space. So
yeah, so really, really great lesson for NASA, right? Like,
yeah.
How do they do things more cost efficiently as well? So fantastic.
Maushumi, can I ask a question? Divya? Divya, there seems to be so many intricacies involved, like with the rover landing on the moon, the surface of the moon is so different, the vibrations, like you said, all that had to be taken into account. You being the mission lead, you obviously had to manage a team that was involved in this whole project. How was the experience of, have you ever managed anything before, like a team like that before, or how much of a challenge was that managing a team with so many people involved in so many different aspects of the rover?
Yeah. So my freshman year after 6 months of just being kind of somewhat familiar with what's going on with the rover, I had become our systems lead. And I think that it was very challenging because I had to really try to understand all of these different aspects of what is, first of all, what's going on with the rover, right? Because we had so many different teams. My background and I was a first year. My background was statistics and machine learning, right? But you know, it was a little hard to interpret what's going on the mechanical side or the avionics side, right? And this project was like moving at a very fast pace. So many things were happening. So sometimes it'd be very hard to keep track of those. But you know, I think by actually just diving into it and, you know, attending meetings, trying to really talk to all of these leads, trying to talk to each member, and then like organizing that for us, like making sure that we have a schedule. I think that's kind of like what ultimately kind of helped us. And by the end, you know, we were pretty good at like sticking to our deadlines, submitting our deliverables, all of that. So that was definitely, it was my first experience. And actually that's what kind of made me start to enjoy doing more like management. And it really gave me the opportunity to actually get into the field of robotics as well, because otherwise, like, I don't think I would have had that opportunity ever to kind of delve into what's going on, you know, in the space community, or just, you know, learning about different kinds of systems. Like, I wouldn't ever learn how to, you know, 3D model using AutoCAD, or I wouldn't have learned like the software that they were using, or yeah. And I think because of this experience and because of some of the knowledge that I've gained there, it really helped me with, you know, my future aspirations as well, right? You know, with going to work at Amazon Robotics and things like that.
Wow,
Hey.
truly inspiring. Really nice. Thank you.
Very nice, Divya. Congratulations. And have you started your astronaut training yet?
No, because one of the requirements is that you have to have a master's and bachelor's degree in some kind of engineering field. So that's a check, right? After the next 2 weeks. The next thing is that you have to have experience, like working experience, working on some kind of space-related project. And, you know, I'm wondering, like, oh, you know, I've had 5 years of experience working on Iris and like another rover, but no, it looks like it has to be like post-graduation work experience. So so I'll be starting that this summer, but maybe once I start doing that, I'll be on the right track.
I think you are on the right track. Keep going. Very good.
Congratulations, Divya. This is Ranjana Pachi and Ashok Ma'am.
Congratulations.
So I had you know, I remembered how I used to send information about a lot of contests when you were growing up, and I sent those to your mom, and you would take part, you and Aditya, and always come first in whatever contest that was. So this one also, like, first of its kind, your mission. We're very proud of you. I have a question that, you know, the company that you're joining, Amazon, what is it again?
Robotics.
Robotics. So is it also space related, and are you going to have another mission like thing, you know, to work on? Like
no, like you said, it's not space related. It's more robotics focused. So kind of what I've done in my previous internship and co-op there is they have deployed robots in their fulfillment centers, right? And so in their fulfillment centers, they have these huge, very tall carts where they fill the packages in. And it's dangerous for associates to climb up and try to push down boxes in the carts. You know, there might be injuries, things like that. So one of the things I was working on was a robot that picks up the package in the cart and then puts it on the conveyor belt. So that kind of automates their processes. So I think that gives me more technical experience with robotics, and a lot of those things I can apply to systems like in space. So I think this will allow for a good transition, you know, maybe in the future to maybe more space aligned companies. But yeah.
All the best to you to becoming a great astronaut.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Hello, Divya. First of all, congratulations to you. I'm from India. My name is Jairam Kambatpun. I have a small question. When you make a lander, if you want to test it here, do you have equipments to simulate the conditions of what's there on the moon, like
Yes.
temperature, pressure, gravitational force, or whatever it is. Do you do
Yes.
that?
Yeah, so within our school, so our school has facilities to do that, and then also in the Pittsburgh area, there are a couple facilities where we had to drive and test the rover. So yes, we were able to simulate, near, at least close to space conditions.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Divya. This is Arun. It was a great presentation, mind-boggling, And I was just thinking, if I had gone to my parents a few years ago, well, let's say 50 years ago, right? And say, I want to do this, or my sister especially goes to her mother and says, I want to do this. They'll say, no way. How are you going to get married? How are you going to find, So it's really admirable what your parents have let you do and follow your passion. I really congratulate them also, and you should be really thankful, and which I know you do, So my question is, what do you do to unwind yourself, So do you go out? Do you have time to go out with the boys? Music, you dance? I heard you dance. And the other question is, have you started talking to the astronauts? I know your next passion is to become an astronaut, So that's all. Thank you.
Yes, so for your first question, with the CMU workload and everything that's going on with Iris, I will say that there's not a lot of free time, but actually I think Pramod Mom just mentioned this. I am a part of the dance organization on our campus. So we just actually had a performance yesterday and on Friday. So my mom came to watch my last performance here at CMU. So I really like to do that. It's a good way of exercising. But no, yeah, mostly dancing. And then also, like I mentioned, Aditya and I had a band. And so he plays guitar, I play drums. So trying to just continue to stay on top of that, try to practice. And then of course, just trying to be healthy. And so going to the gym, taking walks. The weather in Pittsburgh is becoming a lot better now. It's more sunny. Or maybe we're finally going into summer. So maybe spending some time outside after final exams this week. But yeah. And then, sorry, can you repeat what your second question was?
Yeah, I know you want to become astronaut, you said, down
Yes.
the road. Have you started communicating with them? Have you made any connections or where you are in that respect, Yeah.
Yeah, so actually before I'd even entered CMU, I was working at a naval base or I interned at a naval base. And there I was actually working in a lab under a former astronaut, former NASA astronaut. So I think his story was very inspiring to me. So I was able to make that connection and really got his support with these kinds of things. And then, at CMU, we also have a former astronaut in the Tepper School of Business. So can get his advice. And then, of course, as a part of being on the Iris team, we've had the opportunity to go to different facilities. So we actually got to go to the NASA Glenn facility, which is in Ohio. Last semester. So we got to tour their facility, see how they simulated, the sandbox, how they were testing their rovers and things like that. So yeah, a lot of exposure to that.
Excellent. Great. Good luck. Thank
you.
So Divya, I have one question. Like, if there are any students who want to pursue robotics or rocket engineering or any advanced career, what is your recommendation for them?
My recommendation is that they should absolutely go for it. I think that, if they're interested in doing things like that. There's a lot of projects, you know, across different university campuses, a lot of things that you can read up on online. So I really feel like if they have any kind of interest, they should absolutely join. You know, there's things like rocket clubs on campus. So yeah, they should totally do it. Yeah.
Is there any specific link or something which you can suggest?
I don't know because every university is very different, right? And like the way I found out about this rover project was actually through a flyer when I was walking on campus. And it originally it had Iris was called a Cube Rover back in 2019, and I had worked on something called a Cube satellite. And so I actually thought, oh, maybe there's something very similar, and that's how I got interested in the project. So again, really just keep your eyes and ears open. Like these kind of opportunities are always advertised on, you know, campuses or even online, you know, LinkedIn, things like that. So I just recommend, you know, trying to search for them online or look at it. And of course, you know, there's always internships, you know, from NASA and other organizations. So you can always try that.
Great, thank you.
There was one question on the chat, given your experience as a leader in the mission for Iris Rover, what would you say would be the top 3 traits of a good leader?
I think the first one is to be very patient with people. I think a lot of time when you're in very high stress situations, it's very easy to, you know, for people to like lose your cool and I think when that happens, you kind of lose sight of, you know, what are some of the problems that are happening. So first one is to, whenever you're looking at a situation, to be very calm and try to analyze it like very logically and critically. The second one is to make sure that you form a good connection with the people that you're working with. I know people say that it's a red flag when people say like, oh, this company is like a family or things like that. But I mean, you really should try to get to know like the people that you're working with, you know, just check in and, you know, work-wise as well. Just try to stay involved on what they're doing. And that's why there are, you know, daily stand-ups or, you know, like weekly meetings. And so things like that, or like management tools like Jira, or you can like make tickets, right? And see what's going on. So I think that would be my top advice. And also, yeah, I think have fun. You have to be interested in what you're managing, right? And I think it kind of becomes like a chore if you're not like really involved or like motivated by the work that you're doing. So I think trying to do things that align with your interests and yeah, working with people that are also like-minded is my last tip. So.
This is Pramod again. One last question. How involved were your immediate professors in this project?
So I would say initially when building the rover, Professor Red Whitaker, he would attend our weekly leads meetings. So with all of the leads where we would give team updates, like this is what every team is working on. And then he would give us feedback there. You know, they would be present during major reviews and things like that. As we were, you know, leading up to launch, you know, after we had passed on the rover to Astrobotic and then, you know, eventually ULA, you know, he would attend, you know, events where there was like special guests and things like that. But, you know, they were always there and available. If we had any questions, we could ask them. But, you know, like I said, this was a very much a student effort. So, you know, we are very lucky to have such knowledgeable like professors and you know, a very strong space community here at CMU. And I think that's what, you know, made all of this possible.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from our audience?
I think.
Okay, so
Actually, there are a lot of questions, but you know, maybe Yeah, the question is going to be, is there any follow-up going to be done on this? Because like if there are like more questions, then how can Divya answer them? Does she have enough time for that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Please I put my email and my LinkedIn in one of the slides, and maybe we can send that over after the meeting. But yes, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm really happy to answer any questions. And of course, I'm still involved with Iris with all of the upcoming paper things. So send all of your questions my way. That would be great.
Yes, we're definitely recording this this presentation, and Divya has graciously allowed us to share her slides, which has her contact information. So you should see all of that in a future email from CHF. And I think the next thing I just wanted to say is I just want to thank you, Divya, for presenting this. I'm just in awe of the work that you've accomplished in the past 4 to 5 years. I'm a big fan, and I will be following you, and I can't wait to see where you go, and hopefully it's out to space. Well, I think we're going to close with Shashank is going to do a closing prayer.
No, before that,
Oh, sorry.
Arun Ma'am is going to say a couple of words.
Oh, yeah. Quickly, Divya, thanks again for the great presentation. And I have some good news for you. The CHF board has decided to award you a grant, a cash grant. And we are for your presentation and being the guest on a Young Professional Series. Maushumi will give you the details of the line. And but thanks again for joining us and giving us your experience and the success, and sharing the story. Thanks.
Thank you all so much. Especially thank you to the CHF board and to Maushumi and everyone that organized this and made it possible, and thank you to the audience from so many different places for staying and listening to what I've been working on, especially on a Sunday morning, afternoon, night. And my sincere pranams to Swamiji. And I hope everyone has a good day, and please keep in touch, and stay connected. So and thank you so much for this opportunity. I had a really fun time, and so glad that I could share something that I've been working on for a very significant part of my life. So
by the way, Divya, the way to Boston is through Philadelphia. From Pittsburgh to Boston is through Philadelphia. So remember that. So please feel free to stop by, swing by, in our area, Okay.
Absolutely.
Love to have you. Okay.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shashank, you say that.
Shashank, would you please Sabha Samapti prayers?
Yeah.
If you could lead, please.
Om Nandantu sadaka sarve vinashyantu vidhushakaha avastha shambhavimistu prasannostu gurusada sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayaha sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukhamapnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namah Parvati Patay Har Har Mahadev. Thank you, Divya.
Thank you.